In exactly 30 seconds, I'll show you a Tarkov clip that you'll consider suspicious. But by the end of the video, I will prove you wrong, because this guy is quite literally better than anyone watching this video. He's about to ruin 5 players on labs in 20 seconds, and in this video, I'll explain his strategy. And not how he aims or how he's so fast, but why he's making certain decisions. This video is about something you can't fake: tactical intelligence. Let's look at the clip and then dive into the main course. Don't move. Oh, that's you. You scared me. Give me a second. I need to sit down. So you might be wondering how someone knows when to peek, how to peek, how can peek so fast, and where to aim, when to push, when to not push. You might even be wondering if he's legit. But what you're definitely wondering is why the quality of the image is so shit. I have all the answers, dude. So when I see someone like Cocaoo, I have to look at his gameplay. And today we're going to do a deep dive on what he does, how he does it, how he plans his moves, with or without information, and just what the overall strategy is. If you don't know Cocaoo, he's a French arena champion, he's a streamer, and his first big win was DreamHack Hanover, and he has about 12k hours in the game. 12k hours at around 22 years old on a game that's only 5 years old at the time of recording, which is already a feat in and of itself. But those hours aren't spent in the stash or scavving. They're spent mastering his craft, doing active PvP on labs, and just doing everything he can to be better at the game. So I wanted to understand how he played and what made him different, what makes him tick. Originally though, I made this video in French, and for a year everyone's told me, yo, you should make it in English, it's gonna work, people are gonna love it. The problem? I lost all the files. I'm not kidding. Once the video is released, you just delete everything. And so now what you're about to enjoy is the ugly ass bitch rip off of YouTube with my voice over it. It's still gonna be good, and the content is not taken away from it. The content is exactly the same. It's just a download from YouTube, which itself was a download from Twitch. So if I had $1 for each pixel, I would have $5 is what I mean. But anyway, for that, I apologize sincerely. Now what's going to be interesting is looking at his exact movements, crosshair placement, positioning, and how he interacts with the opponents in general. And for that, we're not just going to look at a single clip taken out of context. We're going to take a look at a full raid with all the context we need. Because when you get to actually place the player in a situation that you get to take advantage of, that's what makes Cocaoo an exceptional player. So Cocaoo, before we get into the raid, do you have any special wisdom to share with us?
Let's say I tell you t'es un golem. You understand this or no? Genre t'es un golem d'argile.
Merci. Now let's talk about the raid. And as I was looking for footage, I realized that the first thing that struck me is that all of his raids are kind of like this. So this isn't me being lucky finding the right VOD of the right length at the right time, and this isn't him being lucky having a really good raid. What this is consistency. And I think no matter what level you play at, whether you're really average or really good or really bad, being consistent is an insanely good skill to have. You have to reliably be able to identify your level and trust it. And being able to know your capabilities and limits, I think, is even more important than those capabilities themselves. Now imagine this. You're in a fight, you're in Tarkov, and you know this is a fight you can take. And you're very confident. Okay, I can take this. I will come out alive. That makes everything much more comfortable. And I think it is also that kind of knowledge that makes these kind of players very arrogant in their gameplay, very aggressive, very pushy. But it's really just confidence, maybe pushed to 150%. That specific raid that we're going to look at was during a boss event, so Killa had a 100% chance to spawn. And so the general area around Killa was guaranteed to be pretty busy. That's why we're looking at him rush right now. And it is in this very famous corridor that we're going to open the first chapter of our video, the chronotope aspect.
Use chronotope, it'll look cool, but you'll have to explain it to them because, well, t'es un golem d'argile.
You understand this or no?
So here he spawned near backpack and he's going through Goshan. You want to go to the center of the map. And at that point, he's going to hear a gunshot. And we can safely assume he's not the only one rushing there, so it's going to be pretty busy. You also see that right before the gunshots, he's pretty relaxed. he's chill, he's talking to the chat, and he's smiling, and everything is fine. But as soon as we hear the first gunshot, he immediately focuses up. You can see it's getting serious, the posture changes, he leans forward, he's not smiling anymore, he's tense, he's completely locked in. And that is because at that point, he's not a streamer anymore, now he's a gamer and he's here to win. The fight he's about to go in though is something that really happens a lot in Tarkov. It's called third party. It's an opportunity to get to someone that's busy with something else, either a fight or a post-fight situation, healing, looting, packing mags, something like this. We know Alphonse is an SVD because we heard him, and we know he's vaguely in the area, but we haven't seen him. Right now, Cocaoo has several options. He could go peek on the right side, but with the sandbags, he won't have a great angle, so he's gonna have to move closer, which is gonna expose himself and give other players, including Alphonse, more time to react, as well as just a lot of sound to give information. He's also gonna be out of any kind of cover, so it's just not really great. He could do the exact same on the left, with a brutal shot. That's gonna get him much closer to Alphonse, which is good against the SVD, but all things considered, it's the same as the right side. It's gonna give him a lot of time and sound to react, which is something we don't want. The vaguely smart thing you could do is go backwards and upstairs on the escalator. It's a little bit faster, it's a little bit less expected, but on the other hand, it's gonna drastically remove his ability to go to cover and dodge, and it's also a big disadvantage of range against the SVD, so I don't think it's a great choice either. No, ideally you wanna be fast, you wanna have cover, you want to have decent range, you want to have the element of surprise, and you want to have an unexpected angle. You need all of this. What he's about to do doesn't look smart at all, but the vast majority of the players would have taken one of the angles I just showed. He didn't, and that's where the box comes into play. That box is the smartest choice by far. But in the heat of the moment, it is not an easy choice to make. And it's literally the fastest way to see Alphonse. And it's also pretty surprising. It's not an expected angle. It has good range for the SVD versus VSS situation. And you also have cover as long as you crouch down from any direction. So it ticks all the boxes. It's pretty good. There's just one massive downside is that when you're up on that box, you're massively exposed to the sidelines. And that's where the chronotop aspect comes into play. He knows he has one of the closest spawns, and he knows the other PMCs in front of him. So it's very unlikely that someone else is also that close, but he also has elite strength, elite endurance. He took 1 million rubles worth of stims, so he's pretty quick. He knows nobody is going to be there in time, but he knew it would be worth the risk. That's what I mean by chronotop. He played Alphonse using the environment, but he used the environment taking the time of the raid into account. If you put him in the exact same situation 3 or 4 minutes into the raid, or if you put him in the exact same situation 25 minutes into the raids, it would have most likely be very different results. Now in this initial fight here, he's going to show us something else. Is that the best decision to kill someone is not always the best decision to survive. He's going to play risky, he's going to play aggressive, but if you look at his survival rate, it's not that good. But if you look at his PMC kills per raid, that is impressive. So he's always going to favor kills over his own life. And when you play like that, you make 2, 3, 4, 5 kills in a raid. At some point, you are going to die. Now, before we move on and explain why Cocaoo is such a shit player, I want to answer a question that nobody asked in the start of the video. Why is the editing so overkill? Why does an old fart like me talks about him clicking on heads with the name of a soda? It's a legitimate question, and the answer is simple. I just like it. That's what I want to do.
C'est ça que j'ai envie de faire. Putain, Pitch, tu casses les couilles, fille. Tu veux pas aller dans un autre endroit? C'est quand même un truc de fou. Pitch, ne m'oblige pas. Pitch, ah, il y a la sécurité. Sécurité ici, c'est où? Fuis, putain.
The answer is I like it. Excuse me, Coca, don't you want to step down? You're in my spot.
Non mais gros, t'es sérieux là, la vidéo elle est en pause au cas où. Hein.
What the fuck are you on about? This is an edit. You can move around freely. Get out of here.
Vas-y gros, tu me casses les couilles, va refaire tes vieilles vidéos de là de l'échappée belle.
Are you looking for trouble? Is your sense of smell not working? Because I smell danger here, bro. Ah, see, it wasn't that hard to move your ass out of the way, was it now? So yeah, what I like to do might sound arrogant, but I'd like to make videos that go beyond Tarkov. Even if it's in Tarkov, I want to dig deep onto certain topics and talk about them without feeling the need to make a wipe guide video. I want to do over-edited videos about very specific details that I talk about for 20 minutes. Videos that others haven't covered, and even if they did, I'd like to try to do better. But this takes time, planning, energy, and often just money, which doesn't come easily.
Vas-y les gars, je vous en supplie par pitié, abonnez-vous à la vidéo, likez, faites tout ce que vous voulez, que je me casse de son truc là et que j'aille sur Labs, s'il vous plaît.
Exactly, I was about to say. 100% of you aren't subscribed, so if you could consider subscribing or even going on my Twitch page and dropping a sub, that would be incredibly helpful. Especially now, we have targets to reach for a contract, and if you do that, I will not need to put ads or sponsored content, which reminds me that I should talk to you about the Logitech G502X. Nah, that's a lie, there's no sponsor. So anyway, Cocao relies heavily on his skill and will often bet that he is stronger than the player is facing. He's gonna play aggressively on the kill rather than play safe and potentially be late. He's not even taking surviving into consideration. That's the Chad mentality. I'm not teaching you anything here. But it is that mindset that's going to make him push immediately after having killed Alphonse. Even though we have no information whatsoever on the state of the fight, there could be someone else, there could be a duo, we just go. And that's a big difference between him and another player. Most people would think there might be someone else and he might get the jump on me, I'm going to be patient. Coca thinks the opposite. There might be someone else, I can't miss the opportunity, I'll go get the jump on him. So the difference is that he's going to see uncertainty as a potential kill, where people see uncertainty as a risk. This is a completely different mindset. But anyway, now we know more. Killa is dead, Alphonse is dead, and with the time, nobody is around, so we're pretty safe. We're not safe. We know other PMCs are coming, we just don't know from where exactly, but we know people are coming. So the position here is what I call a sound position. It's a position that will allow you to hear someone before you can see each other. You can hear people coming from the other side of the shop before anyone can see anyone. And then as he ops outside of the shop, looks into the corridor on the right side only, because he cleared the left side with the sound and the grenade. What he's doing here is it's not just jumping around and looking for someone. He is filling a blank chessboard that he knows there is pieces in, he just don't know where they are. And by seeing where they're not, he's excluding uncertainty. But all that being mostly sound related, he's going to take a chance to read chat because, as you know, he's also a streamer. He streams full-time on twitch.tv/cocao. You heard that right. It's not cacao like the chocolate. It's not cocoa like the iOS framework. It's not cocoa like the nut. It is cocao with 2 O's. Don't ask why. And then you might as well throw an underscore in there right at the end. That way you're sure nobody can type it right the first time. Well played, Coca. Thank you very much. Anyway, go check him out. He tosses a grenade. That's just to force movement from players or voice lines from the AI to get sound. As soon as you consider that's clear, you can start crossing. So that's what he does, but the way he does it is by making himself the most visible and the loudest possible. That's to give confidence to the other players around that, they have free information over him. That confidence is going to help the others fill their mental chessboard, if you will, which in turn will most likely lead to PvP, which is trying to force anyway, so that fits his agenda pretty well. But again, you see the level of confidence of giving free information here just to get PvP. Hey, did you see that? Did you? No, you didn't. You know how I know? Because...
T'es un golem.
Nah, he definitely saw it. And the common reflex here by most players would be to freeze. Trying to confirm or deny. Wait, did I really see a laser? And you try to sound, wait, is there someone aiming at me? Can you hear ADS, backpack sounds, anything? But we just made a lot of noise to get that laser. This is a reaction from our actions. That was the whole point. He made that player look. And this is going to open our second chapter today, the tactical aspect. Now let's just use two perspectives again here. Where could he reasonably be? If we consider where and when we saw the laser and what we didn't hear and see earlier. It's super simple. He's either in the main lane looking at the side or inside of Mantis looking through the outside. It's either or, and he's waiting for Coca, he's holding the angle. Now there's obviously other possible angles. He could be above on the first floor looking down, or he could be on the side on the crates looking at the angle. But for one, I consider this very unlikely for people to be there at that time. Remember, chronotop. But also, he would have fired shots before when Coca crossed because there would have been an angle outside, and we would probably have seen him ourselves as well. None of that happened, so I think we can exclude these spots. So reasonably, he's either on the main lane, looking at the side, or inside Mantis. And all of that logic happened instantly when we saw the laser, because Coca is going to confirm immediately by going outside to check the alley and check another box. So it's really what's happening here is checking boxes and making sure someone is or isn't in on the place on the chessboard. But notice how he's peeking wide enough to see outside and check the lane and see if the player is there or not, but not close or wide enough that the guy from the inside angle could see where he's coming from. It's again very small details like this that seems like nothing is happening, but a lot is actually happening. He's making sure to check one angle at a time without exposing himself too much. You can see from that movement all the reasoning that went on. But yeah, it's visually very unappealing, but tactically it's very interesting. If you think about it, we haven't seen or heard anyone in the past minute. We've just seen one laser on one box for half a second, but we've gained so much information. We're super confident Barnabé is inside Mantis, and we're very confident that the angle is holding. We just don't know, like pixel perfect, exactly where he is. Just knowing the room is not enough. We need to go from the macro information to the micro information, just like we did with the previous kill. And following this is the most predictable move by Coca, aggression. Now he's going to do the exact same thing as before, just as a smaller scale. He's going to jump around, peek fast, and bait shots. The idea is to get the exact position of Barnabé, but now we're in a fight, so we're going to manage risk a bit differently. By jumping so fast and so far, he's forcing his opponent to aim for the legs if he's holding the angle, and if he is also forcing him to correct his aim, which should give Cocaoo enough time to react, but he's not holding the angle, and so now Cocaoo is holding the angle. And right now he's assuming the other guy is going to be slower if he peeks, which is likely because we're already aiming at the right spot. But you'll notice, most importantly, that Cocaoo is holding the angle quite shortly, quite narrowly, because he wants to be protected against his own tactics. So now if the other guy starts to jump far and have a wide angle, Cocaoo is going to be covered behind the wall. But if he peeks normally, it's going to be within that small window, and a headshot is going to happen quite certainly. So one way or the other is keeping the advantage against a player we haven't even seen yet. But in the meantime, we're also learning what the guy is doing, which essentially is nothing right now. So we're putting the pieces together. That guy is holding the angle, he hasn't moved, and he's not very aggressive in general. What happens next seems completely random, but has way more thinking that transpires. He's gonna fire a single shot at the wall and then run away. He's not trying to cover his steps or cover his sounds or some kind. He's literally just using him as a puppet. When you hear a sound this close, you will look. You will at least turn your head, because you need to know, did this guy see me? Am I missing something? Is he trying to find a shot but he missed? What is happening? It is very quick, but you will react. And it's not for very long, but it's long enough for him to peek from the other side. It's always about getting the best odds possible. And that's exactly what's happening here. And as you can see, we didn't see him when we peeked, but now we see he's checking that corridor. So that bait did work.
Hello, motherfucker.
This is not luck, but it is also not planned. This is pure instinct. He has done this move so much on so many players, so many maps, so many angles. It's just coming naturally now. And according to his gameplay, it is the most efficient tactic. Now, I want to let that sink in just for a second. The opponent has not decided any of his moves. Cocaoo is in total control of both players. Now, Tarkov being Tarkov, he tanked the headshot, so he decides to try a face-off. This is the only time you're gonna have a vaguely balanced duel. Both survive, so we're just seeing two monkeys yell at each other, I guess. So he goes inside of the corridor again and commits to 100%. He pushes the box where Barnabé is hiding. You'll notice he hasn't reloaded yet, so he's gambling that Barnabé is reloading. He might get a free kill if he pushes. Barnabé is not there, so he's gonna jump above the box to try and, get a free shot on jumping, which is very unlikely to happen. It doesn't matter. He's gonna do the exact same move again. It is the same move, executed the same way, in the same raid, against the same player, in the same situation. Nothing is changing. He's quite literally telling him, be careful, I will come from the other side. Maybe you should reposition yourself or aim another way. Wink, wink. Obviously, he turns back. That's a bait. And by the time Barnabé realizes he's once again not holding the correct angle, he is quite literally repositioning himself into Coca's crosshair. Barnabé goes down and we contact next of kin. During that whole fight, every movement was orchestrated by Cocaoo. This kind of movement, albeit simple and unimpressive on paper, is still very hard to execute flawlessly in time in the heat of battle. I know this sounds like glazing and, fuck it, it is. But it's not about the aim or the speed or anything that a cheat could improve, really. It's about tactical intelligence and that you can see how the fight is presented to you and how you build the fight, to be to your advantage. It's not something you can fake. And I insist, that specific fight here, happened once, but he has done that move a million times. But that method, that moveset is also a weakness. And we're going to elaborate on that in a bit. Because Coca's main weakness is predictability. That move is going to work well in nature against random players on live raids because they don't know who they're facing. But if I could tell you that every time you're facing someone, he's going to flank you and he's going to bait you, suddenly the odds are way, way, way in your favor. You would still need to win the aim game, have the raw skill advantage. But tactically, that's not perfect at all. This is really a rock, paper, scissors situation. You flank, hold, reposition, pre-fire, bait. Those are just tools in your tool set that you need to use as a counter to what the opponent is doing. But we're going to talk more about that later. Now, while he's healing though, I invite you to enjoy this small French documentary about frogs.
Célèbre des grenouilles françaises, on la rencontre très souvent près des mares. Et puis c'est pas tout, j'ai aussi attrapé un petit crapaud. Regardez, alors le crapaud, attention, ce n'est pas le mâle de la grenouille, c'est une autre espèce d'amphibie.
The next skill is the best one by far. This dense golem hears a sound coming from the escalator, extremely slow, no way to reposition, and moving in the most predictable pattern. And we do get to see the worst aim in the solar system. But you might have noticed Oscar behind the screen if you paid attention. If you didn't, Coca did. Oscar is that one PMC that thought, yo, I'm gonna fourth party this bitch and get rich. Bro, the only party you're going to is in the lobby. And you can't make this shit up. By no fault of his own, Oscar found himself perfectly aligned with Coca's crosshair as he was failing to hit the scav, and ends up as almost a collateral. There was no strategy, there was no anticipation, there was no preparation, there was nothing tactical about this. This was pure luck. Now that being said, if you put luck aside, this bit demonstrates what's very important to competent players. Raw skill. Being able to react quickly, on a small window, and be accurate and fast. It's just mechanical performance, if you will. Oscar was unlucky. He came at the wrong place at the wrong time. Everyone was in movement. There was nothing he could have done to predict this. I'm sure he had a great game and it was really a fun raid for him, but it is what it is. And meanwhile, Coca still busy with the scav, you know.
T'es un golem.
But now we know Coca, he's the predator. He wants to push more people, but what happens next is a nice opportunity to show that movement is key. Because he was jumping around all game, but nothing really happened. But here in Brutal, he gets shot. And if he had been walking, or worse, looting, he would be dead. But thanks to the movement and the very small angle between the shelves and the small window to shoot, he survived. Anyway, we got what we wanted, information, we saw the body, Oscar is dead, we have a teammate confirmed. Let's see how that plays out. Say hello to Norbert. Coca is gonna do what he did on the first kill, and that you should always do when you get the chance is play with the environment. He's gonna break the line of sight by going on a box and be a little higher. It's a really weird angle, because there is some spot where you might see him, but you would not aim there initially. There is the whole room to clear for Norbert, but Coca is just holding one angle. And even if Norbert peeks in the right way, he's still gonna have to correct his aim because Coca is higher. So just by going into the box, you make this go from a 50-50 skill check into a real practical advantage towards Coca once again. Now Coca is holding, we're playing chess again. Let's see what Norbert is doing. Does he throw a grenade? Does he try to shoot through the material? Does he wait for Coca to act? Or does he peek the angle and die? And as soon as Norbert dies, we have Nestor coming into the action. He is coming from Goshen, and it's really interesting because this is the inverted fight compared to the start. Nestor is slower than Coca was, and Coca is ready, he's already fighting, but he is not as prepared as he would have liked to be. Although I would consider this fight pretty much a 50-50. The first thing he does is trying to reposition. So he's gonna shoot twice in what appears to be random burst, but they're not random at all. He's getting the right side and the left side of the pillar because it doesn't know if the guy is holding the right angle or the left angle. And so it's more than suppression, it's a really decent chance of getting a kill. Because he hasn't responded to Nestor, it's very likely that he's actually holding the angle and showing his head. Shooting there is either going to get him the kill, or he's going to force Nestor to hide, which is going to allow him to flank a little. And he's going to do it. It's the exact same move we've been seeing from the start. Shoot a bit and flank. And he does flank, he repositions and gets the kill on Nestor. I think you're seeing my point here is that Coca has a variety of moves and he always uses them. He's probably tried 1,000 different things, but over the years with the 12k hours, he's been refining them to a point where they just work. At least in the live games, they work. And you could compare that to just a natural selection. Some you're going to use and some you're going to stop using. But in reality, that's just a definition of experience. Getting better at something through failure and time. And experience can only be gained with time, by playing. What you can do though, is give that experience more value by paying attention to how you play. You watch your replays, take recordings, look at how you died, reconsider what happened, what you could have done differently. I know you could blame lag, you could blame cheats, luck, you know, or you could also look at yourself and analyze. What could I have done differently? And next time, try it differently. With time, that will develop into actual skill. When to push, when to hold, when to do this, when to do that. If you look at the last two kills we saw, he held the angle on the box, but he could have pushed. But if he had pushed on the first kill, it would have been between him and the other guy who came after, between Nestor and Norbert. That would have been catastrophic. He would have been facing his back. Even if Norbert is the only one that shot him, in that case, Nestor would have really sealed the deal. The reason Coca didn't push is that the raid had been going on for a while and there has been a lot of noise and someone just shot in the main lane. And at this time of the raid, it's not a good idea to cross it. You know, Chronotop if you remember. So being better is not always about pushing and being aggressive. It's also about knowing what to do and most importantly, when. Because he pushed on all of his skills except these two. Experience is something you earn by playing and everyone has it. I'm certain you have a success map, a success weapon. Some of you most certainly have a preferred duffel bag or a success stash that you like to loot. That's because one day you made a core memory where you had that weapon on that map, or you used that duffel bag and you had a good loot. And it's a good thing, but it's also a bad thing. Because just like cacao, you become predictable. And what you need to do is experiment a lot. You need to get out of your comfort zone. Yes, it's worked one time and so you did it again, and it worked 1,000 times since then. But what if something better was possible? That's the mindset. Find what works, but when you find it, keep experimenting to perfect it. Except if it means using the HHS1, hybrid optic. Don't use that one. Fuck that one. Now, we've been looking at the live raid, but let's take a short break to look at Arena, because Arena is competitive, and by nature, you don't only play the game, you also play the players. But when he played XPA versus Virtus Pro did their homework. And you know what they did? They destroyed them. They just came prepared. And as I've mentioned before, it is just rock, paper, scissors. It's not a live raid anymore where everyone is paper and you're not even scissor, you're fucking fire there. Here they know what you're doing, so they just do the counter. And they counter hard. This was during the first Arena Cup series, and it was the first few rounds. If you look at Coca, Codex, and Dadace, they have 0-5-0. No kills, no assists, and 5 deaths. Everyone in the room there is a great player. But you don't get 15 deaths because you're bad. You get 15 deaths because they're prepared. And this is where the opposite of raw skill comes into account. This is tactical preparation. And again, it's not something that you really see when you look at the game from the outside without really paying attention. You just think, they're having a bad game. They're not feeling it today. It's not that at all. I've talked with him about that specific game. I've talked with Cocaoo, and he mentioned him himself. Like, they knew what we were doing. Their position were always watched. The spots were pre-fired, and they felt helpless, and it showed. Like, you can see VP was pre-firing on where Coca was going to position, and there was nothing you could do about it. Like, it's a bit annoying because there is no replay, and the spectator was obviously not always spectating what I want to show you, but it is what happened. And I'm sure you understand what I mean without even the images. If you die in the first 5 seconds, as you get to your very specific spot and you get shot through the wall, it's because you're expected. But in the end, what they had to do is adapt, and they went for something a bit less classic, and it paid off. Eventually, they won. And I think that was a feat, because adapting and changing your gameplay and your playstyle is not easy. But anyway, all of this is to illustrate that experience is one thing and preparation is another. In a competitive setup, repeating the same thing to perfect it might not work. It's going to work in live games, probably, but not when you're playing competitive against the same players all the time. What I mean is learning and getting experience is a skill in and of itself. If I could give one piece of advice to Coca, or really anyone listening, which if you do means you should subscribe, by the way, because you're like 3/4 of the video, but it's this. Shake things up. Try different things. Get out of your comfort zone. And I don't mean just in EFT or in your playstyle, or even just try different games, but even in that one thing we call life. Don't be the equivalent to the old, drop the backpack and snipe the backpack. That doesn't work anymore. Don't be the, I'm gonna prone lean and pretend to be dead. Those are known and discovered, and even in live games, they don't work anymore. You don't want to be that strategy. Try something new. Try something different, and that's how you get better at things. That's literally why I'm finally opening up my channel to English speakers. Now, what I really like here is looking at the pressure just releasing. It's finally time to relax and breathe. And again, same thing. Smiles back up. Posture is also, kind of laid back. And I think that's what also makes Tarkov so great to play and to watch. And that's the secret sauce of the game. It's the rhythm of the stress, the adrenaline, the peace, mixed with uncertainty, and it comes and it goes, and suddenly it's super quiet and then it's super stressful. Tarkov's secret sauce will be my next video, by the way, so make sure to check it out. It will be delivered to you between now and 2046. Now, let's see if you understand Coca. The fight is over. Information is scarce. What do? Sound mode. You find a spot where you're not visible and you can hear, throw nades, read chat, get information. But what happens after is just pure comedy. Eugene is that one guy who was lost. He's been waiting for 93 minutes in a bush to be able to place that one camera in Brutal, and he happens to stumble on Coca. His feet are even visible below the fence. He just stands there, absolutely helpless. I mean, there was something to say for everyone else, but for Eugene, it's just rip, bro. 07, I guess. That's Tarkov. You win some, you lose some. It is what it is.
Yo mec, je sais pas si t'es au courant, mais on voit tes pieds dépasser, hein, frérot.
Oh non, merde. Ah, j'avoue, j'avais pas vu. Putain, sorry.
Non, non, mais tranquille, hein, je vais juste te buter comme ça, t'es au courant, quoi.
Ouais, vas-y. Non, mais je comprends, je comprends.
Oh, he's dead.
T'es un golem.